Today we are going to learn about education system in India. We are basically going to focus on education in India as such. Now, when we are talking about education in India, let us have a look at what do we mean by education. Because over the years and over the different stages of life, the meaning of education keeps on changing. Let us go very back in the Gurukula system, wherein education was given utmost importance. The relation between the Guru and the Shishya was in such a manner that there was a respect for a teacher, and it is a teacher who will be taking responsibility of the disciple. The disciple or a student used to stay at teacher's place and do all sort of activities which are required in day-to-day functioning. Say for example, starting from cooking, buying, looking at the family matters, all these things were taught by the Guru. So, as a student was staying with the Guru, student was bound to do all the jobs and duties which is required for smooth functioning of the family. So, it was the Guru's responsibility to look after the disciple, and disciple also used to obey the Guru. Whatever task, whatever duties assigned by the Guru was looked upon as something which will be teaching the disciple some or the other things from that task or activity. So, in this way, over a period of time, after Gurukul system, there was a change. Britishers came to India, lot of schools were opened, number of teachers were required. So, in that process, what happened? Anybody who had a certain amount of knowledge could become a teacher. So, in that particular process, number of schools increased, there was a demand for large number of teachers, and because of that, somewhere the quality of education which was there in the Gurukul system has to compromise. Because the way Guru used to teach a disciple in Gurukul system was, a Guru was a very knowledgeable person at that time. But over the period of time, as the number of school increases, it was easy for anybody to become a teacher. And in that particular process, the quality of education started deteriorating. So, after Britishers, lot of things happen in India, and when we are talking about present day education in India, still the scenario has changed. So, we see that the meaning of education changes over a period of time in different stages of life. And the meaning given to education also is different as per the context, as per the change in context. The way education was given high regard and the kind of education which was there in the Gurukul system, definitely in today's education we don't find such kind of things. Today, somewhere we are shouting against the quality of education we are getting is not preparing our child or our children for future life. It is not developing any kind of skills which are required for living a successful life. So in this way we saw that there was a gradual change in the meaning of the term education over a period of time, starting from the Gurukul system till today. As we discussed, the meaning of education changed and the nature of education also changed over a period of time. Now let us see, what do you mean by education? What is education? Education is the process of acquiring values, knowledge and skills. Now when we are talking about, it is a process of acquiring values, knowledge and skills, we do expect or we looked upon education as the agency which will be developing all these things among the students. But what is happening nowadays is we are not preparing our children for getting the kind of values which are required, for getting a suitable attitude which is required. So we really need to focus on the meaning of education. For what purpose it is meant and where we are going now. Education in its general sense is a form of learning in which knowledge, skills and habits of a group of people are transferred from one generation to the next through teaching, training or research. Education is preparing a person to face everyday life. As we have seen in the definition of education, wherein we are talking about education is also a training. It is a process of learning wherein the person acquires various knowledge, skills, habits, attitude, etc. It is a lifelong process. Starting from the birth of a person, education keeps on going till the death of a person. So, in that sense, we can say education is not acquired through any formal agency, but education may happen even in informal situations because it is a lifelong process and we do learn many things from the experience we come across. So, education, the real meaning of education is acquiring knowledge. It can be from the school, from the college, or it can be from the day-to-day life experiences. We learn many things from the family, from the society, from the relatives, friends, and they can be also looked upon as an agency of education. So, in this way, education may happen in a formal or a informal setting because experience can be your teacher and through experience person learn many things. Let us have a look at the characteristics of education. Education is a lifelong process. Education is a process because it doesn't stop. It is a continuous ongoing process. We cannot say after acquiring certain degree or certain certificates or diplomas, my education is over. If we say like this, then person's growth will not take place. So, education is a process. Education is a product. When we are looking at education as a product, we are looking at education which prepares the individual to be a suitable citizen which is required for the society. It prepares the product. Here, I mean product is a student. What kind of product your school is providing, what kind of values, attitude, knowledge, skills are developing among your student can be looked up as a product. So, education is also a product. Education can also be looked upon as a discipline. When I am saying education is a discipline, it is a branch of study. There are various subjects which can be studied under the discipline of education. So, education is a discipline as well. So, we can say that there are different aspects of education. Education is a discipline. Various different subjects can be learned under this discipline. Education is also growth and development. It helps a person to grow. It helps a person for his development. In the process of education, person grows, person acquires various skills, knowledge and attitudes. So, it helps him in his own growth as well as the growth of society. So, we can look upon education as growth and development. When we provide education to the children, we actually are helping the nation by providing kind of citizens which will be requiring for the development of the nations. They are the future citizens and which they will be contributing in development of the nation. So, in that sense, education is growth and development. Education is the one who provides direction to life. A person or a child has various instincts and these instincts, urge and drives need to be controlled, needs to be directed in a proper way. These drives and instincts are not controlled or directed in proper direction, it may lead to disorganized society. It may lead to misbehavior which will not be suiting the society. So, for this purpose, education should direct a person to have a kind of attitude, values which will be helping the society. So, in this manner, education can be looked upon as the process which provides direction to life. Education can also be looked upon as a faculty for development of mental abilities. In the process of education, the mental abilities like thinking, reasoning, problem solving can also be learned in the process of education. So, by this particular process of education, a person's mental development also takes place. It helps in developing mental ability. So, education can be looked upon as the process of developing mental ability. When the person or a child goes to a school, he is not only learning the subjects, but by way of learning various subjects, he is acquiring various skills, he is acquiring various mental abilities which will be requiring for future life or for the sustenance of life. So, in this way, education can also be looked upon as a process of development of mental abilities. With the development of society, education has taken various forms like adult education, special education, technical education, management education and so forth and so on. We have different faculties of education. For making it very simple, education can be classified three categories: formal education, informal education and non-formal education. Now let us have a look at what do we mean by formal education. Formal education is the education which is provided under a systematic way, and it is an institutionalized process. The person has to go to the school or college for getting formal education. So it is known as formal because everything has formal. It has a fixed curriculum, it has a particular procedure of taking it, it has a particular procedure of admission, it has a particular procedure of evaluation. So everything is systematized and formal. That is why it is known as formal education. Now let us have a look at characteristics of formal education. Formal education is systematically organized and institutionalized. It is planned with a particular end in view. Now when I am saying it is planned with a particular end, it has aims and objectives which are in align with the state and the nation. We may have a different curriculum for different states, and nationwide we can have a different curricula. So it is planned with a particular end in view, wherein the aims and objectives are decided keeping in view the society's needs, nation needs and state's needs. It is limited to specific period or stage. Once the child is enrolled in a school, there are different stages of education. Say for example primary, secondary, higher secondary, college, university and so forth. So it is limited to specific period or a stage. It has well-defined and systematic curriculum. In a formal setup, it is very much mandatory and necessary to have a systematic curriculum, because curriculum is looked upon as a guideline to whom the teachers and the schools will be looking upon and following the procedures in the process of education. It is given by specially qualified teachers. When we are talking about formal educations, teachers need to satisfy certain criteria. They need to be qualified as per the criteria at different stages and different levels of education. They need to be competent enough. They need to have a mastery over their skills of teaching. So, say for example, at primary level, teacher needs to have a degree or diploma like D.Ed. When the teacher needs to teach at secondary level, teacher needs to be B.Ed. So like this, so on and so forth, different degrees are required for teaching at those particular levels. So it requires a specially qualified teachers with proper training. It observes strict discipline. One needs to follow the disciplines which are decided by the schools, which are decided by the principals, teachers and management. And it is very much mandatory to observe the strict discipline in formal setup. Now the second type or form of education is informal education. As we have discussed earlier, education not only doesn't happen in school, but out of the school or in a society also education takes place. It is a lifelong process and person acquires education from day-to-day life, from the friends, relatives and so on and so forth. So it is informal as well. Now when I am saying it is informal, there is no fixed curriculum or there is no systematic way of getting the education. We don't have to go to the school or colleges, or it is not mandatory for enrolling ourselves in informal education. We just acquire education from day-to-day life and from the experiences which we come across in day-to-day life. So this education is known as informal education. Informal education occurs automatically in the process of living. We do come across with various instances, events, experiences, and in that process learning happens. We do acquire information, we do learn various values and skills, we do learn various skills from observing day-to-day life. So it occurs automatically in the process of living. We don't have to follow a systematic procedure in that process of learning. It is incidental and spontaneous. It is not planned. It just happens. We just face some kind of experience and that experience may help us in learning one or the other thing. So it is incidental and spontaneous. We cannot predict what will happen, and maybe that instance may happen spontaneously and that instance may enrich you by giving certain kind of values, skills, knowledge and information. It is not pre-planned nor deliberate. There is no planning taken place in informal education. As and when whatever experiences occurs, that teaches you those particular values, skills, attitudes and knowledge. It is not imparted by any specialized agency. As we have seen in formal education, it is very much mandatory to have a specialized training for a teacher to teach in formal setup. But here, it is not imparted by any specialized agency. In informal education, your agency may be simply your parents, your friends, relatives, anybody in the society to whom you interact. So it is not imparted by any specialized agency. It does not prescribe timetable or a curriculum. It doesn't have any kind of curriculum. As and whatever experience come across, that teaches you. So it is not focusing on prescribed timetable or a curriculum. It is a lifelong process. Starting from the birth till the death of a person, it keeps on going, because each and every experience teaches a person various things. So it is a lifelong process. It doesn't stop. Now the third type of education is non-formal education. As we have seen in the earlier two types, the formal education is very systematic and structured, whereas informal education is not systematic. It does happens in the process of living. In non-formal education, it is systematic and it is organized. But it doesn't happen in the realm of formal education system. Anybody who wish to take that particular education at any age of life, that person can come to non-formal education. But it is not as much unstructured as it is in informal education. It is systematized, it is structured, it does has agencies wherein the person has to go and learn various things. Then how it is different from the formal, informal education? Informal education, we don't have to approach any school or college, whereas informal education, we have to go to enroll ourselves to formal system. But in non-formal education, we can have a little bit flexibility, because it is as per the need of the client. So your curriculum, your evaluation system may change, or there can be flexibility in terms of teaching as per their convenient time, in terms of teaching the things which are required for learning any specialized skills. So it doesn't have a fixed curriculum as we have in formal setup. It does have a curriculum, but the curriculum is as per the need of the client. It is a client who decides at what time the particular client wants to come take education, which skills or which subjects that client want to learn. Now let us have the look at characteristics of non-formal education. Non-formal education is organized, systematic educational activity. It is carried outside the framework of the established formal system. Outside the realm of formal education, it is conscious and deliberate. The person needs to decide what or he or she wants to learn. So in that way, it is conscious and deliberate. It is a person who approach that particular institute and decide to learn various things. It is organized for a homogeneous group. Now here, homogeneous group means the group of person with same liking will come together and try to learn certain skills. So it is organized for a homogeneous group, but homogeneous group is not necessary of the same age. Here homogeneity is considered in terms of similar interest. So the group of people with similar interest, similar need come together and they decide to learn any specific skills or any particular program. It serves the need for identified group. Whichever group is approaching to you as a student, as per their need, the curriculums are decided and curriculums are modified and makes flexible as per their need of the identified group. So it is serving the identified group. Now here, when I am saying it is serving the need of identified group, the timing for the course will be decided as per the need of the identified group. The liking, their need will be considered in framing a curriculum. So in that way, it is little bit systematic, but not as systematic as formal education. But definitely it is a little bit systematic as compared to informal education. So in this way, we have discussed different types of education under the category of formal education, informal education and non-formal education.